Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to this discussion. We are happy to have you join us today for this particular special program. My name is Olivier Nduhungirehe, your host. To give you some background on our discussion today, on Friday afternoon, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Kagame, received His Excellency Faure Gnassingbé, President of the Council of the Republic of Togo and the African Union lead mediator for the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo peace process, together with the African Union appointed panel of experts composed of former African heads of state. We'll discuss of the role of the African Union mediators and how it differs or it aligns with the current mediators, of course, the United States of America and Qatar, and how do these efforts offer real hope. These questions, alongside with others related to Rwanda's relations with foreign countries, are the focus of this exclusive interview. We are together with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe. It's a real pleasure to have you today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Well, I would like to start with these African Union mediators that are currently in Rwanda. I would like to ask, what is the purpose of their visit and how much is it important for Rwanda to have these African Union-led mediators?
Thank you very much. This visit follows the meeting, the high-level meeting that took place in Lomé, Togo, last month on the 17th of January, a meeting of the mediator, convened by the mediator, the President of the Council of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé, with the 5 facilitators, countries of the region, but also partners. And in that meeting, they decided to reinforce, to strengthen the African mediation for the conflict in Eastern DRC, and also to ensure that there is coherence between the African Union mediation and the existing mediations, which are the Qatari and the US mediations. And one of the decisions of that high-level meeting in Lomé was that the mediator and the facilitator will visit 4 countries of the region, DRC, Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi. So they came today, the facilitators and the mediator came today from, coming from Kinshasa, and then they will visit Bujumbura and Kampala. And as Rwanda, we believe in the African mediation. As a matter of fact, these conflicts was in the hands of the African mediations. You would recall the Nairobi process, which is an internal process of the East African community, which was made of a political dialogue between the government of Congo and armed groups, Congolese armed groups. But unfortunately, President Tshisekedi decided all of a sudden, after 2 rounds of negotiations, to expel the AFC M23. And then there was, under this Nairobi process, a peacekeeping mission, the East African Regional Force that was deployed on the ground with a ceasefire that was implemented, and the M23 had even relinquished up to 80% of the territory it was holding. But unfortunately, President Tshisekedi decided to expel that force and to bring in another force of SADC. So the Nairobi process ended only by the decisions of President Tshisekedi. And then there was the Rwanda process, which was a bilateral process to bring peace between Rwanda and DRC and solve the security concerns that are between the 2 countries, especially this FDLR genocidal force that is threatening the security of Rwanda. So we have negotiated in 2024, but in December, while we were about to conclude, the DRC government categorically refused to mention on any commitment to dialogue with the AFC M23, despite the fact that they had agreed to it previously. So now the Rwanda process ended also after the Nairobi process. And then after the fall of Goma and Bukavu, the EAC and SADC came together. There was a summit in Dar es Salaam on the 14th of February, and there was an African process that was going to deal with the matter, but President Tshisekedi again went to the US through his lobbies, and also requested Qatar to mediate. But for Rwanda, we accepted because what we want is peace, whatever process, whatever forum, we want peace in our region. But in the meantime, later on, the African Union appointed a mediator, the president of the Council of Togo, Fonya Simbe, and also the 5 facilitators that were appointed by the EAC and SADC to work together. And it's in this context that we had this meeting on 17th of January in Lomé, Togo, and which led to the visit that we had today. And we really have faith in this African process, and we believe that to capitalize on the diplomatic gains of 2025, we need to have the African Union involved in implementing the agreement that was signed. Because the agreement, Washington and Doha, we cannot touch them because they were already signed, agreed on. What we need now is the implementation phase in which the AU will have a prominent role.
Still speaking about the regional security matters in the DRC, authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo have once again called for sanctions against Rwanda. How do you interpret these statements?
Lack of political will, because they have never stopped, to be honest. Going around in Western capitals calling for sanctions against Rwanda. Instead of doing that, they should come back to Africa and implement the agreements that they have signed, starting by the ceasefire agreement. We have signed in June last year the Washington agreement, which provides for a ceasefire. The AFC M23 and the government of Congo also agreed on a ceasefire on 23rd on April last year. But there's no single day where we don't have airstrikes by fighter jets and attack drones against villages of Congolese, including the Congolese Tutsi, against the positions of the AFC M23. This is a blatant violation of the ceasefire. If there is a country that will deserve to be sanctioned, it's DRC. But for us, what we need, it's not to talk about this issue of sanctions by Western powers, but to sit down and implement what we have agreed on. So this shows that there is a lack of political will from the DRC, and I would say the conviction that there will be a solution from Western countries, but the solution will come from us, from countries of the region, from the parties that sign peace agreements.
Now, allow me to note this. On January 22nd, 2026, Rwanda's ambassador to the United States of America told some members of the USA Congress that Rwanda is engaged in security coordination with the AFC M23, particularly on security matters. Is this true? If it is the case, what does this coordination look like?
Yes, it's true. I would first recall that the AFC M23 is a Congolese movement which has legitimate political grievances as a Congolese movement related to the persecution of a Congolese community, but also related to issues related to governance of Congo. So those are Congolese issues. And then, but we have a common interests with the AFC M23 is about this genocidal force, the FDLR, which is persecuting, together with other groups, the Wazalendo, the Congolese army, the Burundian army, which is persecuting our community, the Congolese Tutsi. This is why we have established security coordination with that movement, especially as the whole border, entire border between DRC and Rwanda is controlled by the AFC M23. So we are two separate entities who have different interests, but we have also common interests related to this FDLR, which not only kills Congolese citizens, persecute Congolese citizens, but also threatens the security of Rwanda.
And now how does this differ from the long-standing accusations of Western media and other countries that Rwanda backs the AFC M23?
Yes, I have explained that we have interests. And because of these interests, we established security coordination. But the legitimate grievances of the M23 are Congolese, and actually the AFC M23 is in Doha to discuss with the Congolese government how to address those grievances. And for Rwanda, we have also security concerns that go back to the genocide against the Tutsi, after which we had regular attacks from the DRC territory, from what they called Abacengezi, but it's groups that took different names. First they were Exfar in Interahamwe, then Alir, now FDLR. So those security concerns required us to put in place defensive measures. And the FDLR, as a movement that is threatening our territory, but also killing Congolese citizens, that create interest, common interest with the AFC M23, which led to establishing this security coordination.
Now, Honorable Minister, before we conclude this interview, allow me to ask this question again. The European Parliament's Committee on Foreign Affairs announced that it discussed human rights issues on Rwanda and also received the son of Madame Victoire Ingabire. And regarding this case, what do you have to say? What is Rwanda's position on this matter?
It's not the first time they do that. I think they have adopted 3 resolutions on the case of Ingabire Victoire. They even adopted a resolution on the case of Paul Rusesabagina. They always do that. We have good cooperation with the European Union, with the Commission. There is engagement. But we have serious difficulties with the European Parliament because they still act as if Rwanda is one of its territories. We are not an EU territory. We are independent from European colonization for more than 6 decades. What we tell the European Parliament is that they don't have jurisdiction over Rwanda. And what is even worse is that they don't intervene in political affairs of Rwanda. They intervene in judicial matter, in a case that is before a court of law. And we know that European MPs cannot even intervene in judicial matter in Europe. How dare do they come and try to interfere in judicial matter of an African country? So this is unacceptable. This is why we don't give value to their resolutions.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for this insightful discussion about various matters, but also the cooperation with other foreign countries. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for receiving me.